I'm going to be honest with you. You know how we were talking about Bad Girl Nation? I make metal pins, right? I didn't really think that this is something people would want to buy with money, because I thought it had, it sounds funny, it's quirky, it's cool, but then people actually really like it, and I do get requests like, when are you coming up with new stuff? And that really like fills me up, like, hey, I think I started something. It feels really cool.
Maleena is a designer and illustrator and goes under the alias of Mnxsterr. She started her creative journey as a graduate from Charukola, one of Bangladesh's most sought-after fine arts institution. And before becoming a full-time freelancer, she was an art director and has worked with some of the biggest brand names in the world like Coca-Cola, Viber, Yamaha, and so on. She now works out of her own studio and has her own merch line called The Bad Girl Nation, a brand about rebellion to increase awareness for female empowerment through art. Now, there are a few reasons as to why I wanted Maleena on the show. First of all, I wanted to dig deeper into her life at Charukola. I wanted the raw insights and what it was really like to graduate from not just the most popular, but also the oldest fine arts institution in the country. As a freelancer, she has done some incredible work, but if you're a freelancer, you know how hard it can be to have a sustainable career, especially in Bangladesh. We also spoke about burning out as a creative and what you can do to get out of it. Now, generally, at this part of the podcast, I plug in ways through which you can help the show. But today, I have a different request. If you can, just stay home. It's the 28th of March, 2020, as I record this, and the world is under lockdown to survive the COVID-19 disease. Some places have been hit incredibly hard, particularly the US and Italy as I speak. And honestly, I debated about putting podcasts out there while the world is burning, really. But I guess if my work helps someone out during their time at lockdown or to take their mind off things, for me, that works as an indicator of success. Be kind, stay home, and go call your loved ones, even though I'm really, really bad at doing that. And now on to episode 4 of the State of the Creators podcast featuring Maleena Gomez. Hope you enjoy the show. This is the State of the Creators, a show about creative individuals who are on a quest to build something out of nothing. You're the first one, like on the guest list, who I guess publicly admitted they like this song. I know.
I love people cutting soaps. I mean, that's such a wastage, but still nice.
You can still use the soap after you cut it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
or
not,
like make new soaps out of it.
Do you watch those little Instagram videos about just the calligraphy, like just people just writing stuff? Yeah,
it's also because I love calligraphy. I mean, it's nice to look at.
Yeah, my wife, she just literally watches thousands of those videos just to relax.
Awesome.
Yeah. Also some of those like rug cleaning, like very random stuff that will make you feel.
What I mostly watch are hacks.
What kind of hacks?
Random hacks. Things I'll never need in my life, but like how to cut vegetables properly. I don't know.
I've actually used a hack that I've seen, like one of those random Facebook pages. It's literally that hack about how you use that cutting board. And you use the little space.
Hole?
Yes. I've used that a fair few times. And I must say, I used to think that most of it is just pretty shit, but nah.
Pretty useful, actually.
This one was pretty useful. Before anything else, tell me why Bad Girl Nation? What does it mean?
It's actually pretty basic. It's like it's in the name. It's Bad Girl Nation. Okay. Especially from Bangladesh, you have this undeniable pressure on you to be a good girl. Yeah. To be like decent and stuff, and mostly you're not. Right. You know the word punku, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I grew up listening to that, like, oh, she's a punk. Oh, she's like, she has like blue hair and like red hair. Oh, that's not what good girls do. Right. It's like, all right, I don't want to be a good girl. Right. I just want to be myself. And if I'm a bad girl, if I'm a beadub, then I'll just be it.
I love the pin that I in fact have one of my own, the one that says beadub.
Oh, yeah.
I love that one.
The basic idea was to like wear these names as labels. Like, okay, wear it like a crown.
Right.
If you are it, then you are. Like, just be yourself.
Makes sense.
That's fun.
For people who are unfamiliar with your work, who is Maleena Gomez?
Oh, Maleena is really confused. Firstly, Maleena Gomez is a confused artist, design enthusiast,
Art.
Sometimes
Yeah.
funny, I
Okay.
think.
Yeah.
Loves music.
Loves music.
Yep.
Right. So
That's about it.
so
And
basically
and really friendly.
Really
you
friendly.
know, because my Instagram gives off this vibe like I'm moody, but
the continuous
nice.
RBF.
yeah.
I'm not saying continuous RBF, but
I'm actually nice.
so what's a day to day like for you when you, I guess, work as an illustrator? Like, how does your day look like?
Well, mostly I wouldn't say I'm an illustrator because
Okay.
I stopped drawing. It's been a while because I've been doing commercial works.
Right.
And that requires me to do more of the designs, more of design work or commercial projects. So as an artist, I feel like I've lost that side of me because I haven't been practicing.
Right.
So
So what are the commercial projects that you do?
I do designs. I do I arrange photo shoots.
Yep.
I make props. I do all
Okay.
kinds of creative print media works and designs. So that doesn't really require much of my artistic views. They're just
Right.
like, okay, this is what the client needs. This is how I can do it in the most creative way.
Right.
So that's that. So I feel like that part of me is dying out.
So there's two parts to you,
Yes.
basically. So one that, I guess, organizes stuff as a freelancer for commercial clients.
Gotta get that money.
That's you get that mullah. And the other side is basically your artistic, creative, where you want to express yourself. Has it ever overlapped where you could go to a commercial project with a brand and you're
So
like,
I got approached by Brack for this little program where they wanted to showcase some real life characters as comic book heroes, all female. So you know how I work on female characters and I make them look like ninjas and this and that, like extreme alphas.
Yeah.
So that's where I got to use my actual skills as I drew some of those girls as superheroes. One had they had super skills. So I was like, all right, this is really interesting and this is like me. Something that this is me. You can see it and you can say, oh, something she would do.
Right.
So I had a lot of fun doing that.
Awesome. Would you say that is perhaps the epitome of success for a creative, where you could express yourself and get paid for it?
Yeah, I do believe that.
But how, I guess, frequently can you get something like this?
Not a lot. In fact, even if I do get briefs like that, sometimes I don't take them on.
Right.
Because when I see when it's art, it's not easy to take a lot of feedback from another person.
Right.
Because it's art
It's
and
your
you're
own
supposed
thing.
to use your style.
Right.
But then you get feedbacks like, okay, don't do it like that.
Yeah.
That's why I don't really go for projects like that anymore. Like,
Right.
okay, you know what? It just hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts a lot.
So do you, I think for any artists or creatives, they have to come to a point where I think to make it successful, to make money off it,
Yeah. You need a balance.
they have to cater for most views or most eyes or most people looking at it, right? Or receiving it. What do you think should be the course of action for some, like for you personally, have you ever had to make a choice that, no, this is for me and this is for them? Like, do you distinctly...
I do that.
Right.
I do it all the time, in fact, because there are loads of artworks that I've never posted on social media and stuff, because I thought, you know what, I don't want people to see all this, because sometimes this is me, and it's just me expressing myself.
So do you just hide some of the work that you do?
I do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Will it ever see the day of light?
Maybe when I'm feeling like it. I don't know.
Right.
I always have this fear of I can't really explain this to people, so I'd rather not put it out there. Because people always kind of ask for an explanation, like, oh, what were you thinking when you drew this? I can't really keep telling them, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just
felt like
that's not an acceptable answer. So I just, don't put it out there. I'm like, okay.
Okay. And I think going forward, going back to your question about being a freelancer, what are some of the projects that you usually do take on? And what are some of the, I guess, roadblocks that you face as a freelancer who's supremely creative?
So since I've had an experience in working in advertising, so I do get a lot of those, designing adverts and logos and branding. I actually have a lot of fun doing those. But problems are usually with my rates, because I'm a freelancer and people are not used to working with freelancers. But I'm glad that there's a culture.
Yeah.
But they're like, okay, why would I pay you and not an agency? So this is where I do struggle the most, not really the creative part.
Right.
I mean, they're usually okay with whatever I make, but before my process begins, they're not okay with my rates.
Right.
So I feel like it's kind of a lockdown. Like, okay, can't even start my work because they think I'm charging too much. Whereas I'm actually
Not.
it's basic.
Right. So, what do you do then? Like, do you then negotiate? Like, that's a skill then need to have.
Yeah.
And most creatives don't.
It's exactly. I don't think I can sell myself.
Right.
I mean, if you like my work, let's do it. But if I have to sell you why you should work with me, that's where I fall behind. I usually let it go. I'm like, all right, I'm sorry then.
Yeah.
But I don't really know how to convince you to hire me.
So,
I mean, I can't even go cheaper. So
yeah. with freelancing, though, what are some of the day-to-day struggles that you face?
Mostly living in Dhaka, I think it's the part where I have to go for meetings and meet the clients myself.
Right.
Because we're not used to doing Skype calls here.
No.
You have to go to their office and the traffic kills. So it takes up a lot of my time.
Yeah.
So
for like a 1 minute.
yeah. And I end up
Which
doing
could have been
all
an
my
email.
Yeah, exactly. I end up doing all my actual work, like the design and artworks, later at night. So
Yeah.
it really hampers my sleep because all day I'm running around
And then you're doing the work.
at night I'm like
Talk to me about the first time you realized you were an artist or you were creative. Usually people either have this period of time growing up when they pretty much know that, yep, I've been drawing all my life, this is what I want to do. And sometimes it's when they're just going about and there's like a switch or they see something and they start doing something. And what was your story like in that aspect?
I think it's the latter. Like, I always knew how to draw. I didn't think it was something I could make money out of. But then when I was applying for colleges, my dad told me, like, you're good at art, you should go for an art school. And that's unusual coming from a father, because you know how usually they're like, oh,
correct,
this can't be. And he was like, you're good at it, why don't you try it?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. So that's when I was like, oh, okay, so this is an option.
Yeah.
This is cool. So I went for it and I studied in a fine arts university. Starting from there, I realized, this is actually something I'm really passionate about, because it wouldn't let me sleep. I would always be thinking about, oh, what do I make next? So I was like kind of addicted to it. And also design. I was like, oh, I just used to think Photoshop is used for, like, changing your hair color, like,
Just
getting rid of that pimple.
Adding that Sam Calder filter.
Yeah, exactly. But then it was fun when I actually realized that I can help people or brands through this. And then I started watching, like, on the internet how you can actually make brands.
Wow.
So I was quite young. I think I was 18 when I Googled how to make a logo.
Yeah.
So no, I think it was like 17.
Right.
So that's when it started.
Yeah. So basically, prior to that, you didn't really have a need or a push.
Not really. I
And
didn't
then-
even think.
Right.
See, I told you. I didn't know if it was an option.
And then afterwards, when you really thought it was an option, what did you do? What was your next step? Was it like, yep, just start doing stuff, going to college where you were meant to?
That's what I thought it was going to be. Like, college was a little difficult because I went to a very traditional art school.
Right.
And they're not used to the idea of digital contents or digital art and stuff like that.
What was it like there? Because we hear Charukala, which is, by the way, one of the biggest names in the art side of things in Bangladesh.
They're pretty awesome, but I think they really need to update themselves.
The curriculum.
Yeah, like they have a graphic design department, but I feel like they're falling behind because the world's moving real fast.
Right.
Like, they're still not okay with the idea of digital art, like I was saying.
Right.
They're like,
I mean,
this
do
is
they
not.
look down upon it?
They do.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, this is not the real deal.
Yeah.
So what else do you have to offer?
What did they usually teach you? Stuff like basically painting on.
Yeah,
or
we have
painting,
different
art
concentrations,
process,
different majors for those. Like, sculpting is one thing, painting, oil painting.
Yeah.
So what I studied was Oriental art. It's something completely different from what I do now.
Right.
But it was pretty cool. But it was all like traditional, like big papers and like huge ass paintings.
Yeah. Do you think if you didn't go to that school, you'd be worse off right now?
I wouldn't really say that because you learn from whatever you get.
Yes.
So I think I did have a lot to learn, like the basics of color and like the base.
Right.
I think it did give me a good base or
Yeah.
a good understanding of what perspective is, how to use your skills
Right.
for expressing yourself. I
Right.
think they helped me, but yeah, they had some problems.
Talk to me about the creative process. So when you want to do something, when you have got like this creative itch that you want to scratch, where do you start and how do you get from point A to point B?
So these are basically random. Like I don't really like today I wouldn't think that okay, I'm gonna go home and draw something.
Right.
But suddenly I would probably be watching a movie and then
Yeah.
I'd think up a character in my mind.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you know what? This person should exist. But
Right.
it doesn't, so I'm gonna draw this person out.
Yeah.
So that's how I work. So I
Okay.
start drawing them and I'm like, okay, maybe this person needs like a piercing or
Right.
like a really cool hairdo.
Yeah.
Or maybe no hair at all. I don't know.
Right.
Like that's how I make my creations.
So it's
On the
just,
random,
it
on
just
the fly.
starts. So no two process is the same for you,
Yeah.
and it just builds up from one, like something small, and then you just start adding things.
Yes, that's how I do it.
Right. It's
And then this happened. Like I thought I finished. I was happy with something, and 2 days later I looked at it and I was like, I need to change this. I'm gonna
Right.
change this, and oh wow, it's a new work.
Yeah.
It's something new entirely.
So do you have any set routine, I guess, for practicing art or anything like that you or anything that you do on the daily?
I actually look at a lot of. I look at other people's work, like on the internet, Pinterest, and Instagram. Like there's like a huge
Yeah.
range of new artists and new styles. So I would say that I look at things a lot more than I actually do things.
Right.
Like I,
So you
how
consume a lot of art.
Yeah, because I don't think anyone's original. Like it's a
Yeah.
mixture of what
That's
we see
interesting.
and what we
Yeah.
take, and then
Yeah.
we put in our skill into it.
Right.
So I think I look at things more than I make things.
Wow.
I see a lot of, even for design, like I
Yeah.
see all the new design trends and everything, like on
Yeah.
TV, I don't know, in ads, what colors are hip.
Right.
I think that's how I do my work.
With your
I let them influence me.
with your brand that you've created, I think you've got two brands. Like so you've got the is it Mnxsterr? art?
Mnxsterr, yeah, but
It's not really a brand.
It's,
Okay.
it's an alias I use for
Right. Okay. And then you've got the Bad Girl
Bad Girl
Nation.
Nation.
But you have been able to monetize both to an
Both
extent.
ways, yeah.
Talk me through how you, I guess, look at something and see this is worth monetizing, and then actually putting it out there. And I guess it must feel awesome when people actually come out
Yeah.
and buy that.
I'm gonna be honest with you. You know how we were talking about Bad Girl
Yeah,
Nation?
yeah.
I make metal pins, right?
Mhm.
I didn't really think that this is something people would want to buy
Right.
with money because
Right.
I
It's
thought
just-
it
yeah,
had. I mean,
yeah.
it sounds funny, it's
Yeah,
quirky, it's
yeah.
cool, but then people actually really like it, and I do get requests like, "When are you coming up with new stuff?"
Right.
And that really like fills me up. Like, hey,
Yeah.
I think I started something.
Yeah.
It feels really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for stuff that you have to brand and then monetize, and then that's again there's a line pretty much in the middle for you.
Yeah.
The stuff that you do for yourself, and then you
Right.
monetize, and then you do your freelancing stuff
Mm-hmm.
on the side. How do you pick your clients? Like when you have to work with them.
Oh, this is a difficult call, but usually I let them come to me because I need them to know what I'm good at, and I want them to choose me for that skill only. Like I usually give away work when I feel like that this project does not fit me, it fits someone else I know, I pass it on. So if somebody wants my expertise, like okay, they like how I use my colors, or like if my style is a little pop and it's
Yeah.
modern.
Yeah.
If that's what they're looking for, I jump in.
Right.
But if I feel like they're asking for something I cannot provide, I don't push myself. I
Okay.
just pass it on to some other artist or someone.
Right. Okay, that's awesome. So do you have a network that you work around here, like of artists and
Yes,
creatives?
especially being a freelancer, I wanted to build this network where I can actually give people out,
Right.
give work out to people.
Right.
Because this is how it should be. Like people working from homes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And over mail, I'll be like, hey, even for 3D, like I
Yeah.
get a lot of work that includes
Wow.
3D stuff. So
Right.
I have this guy, he's like doing 3D at home. He never goes out. So he's like, yeah, can you do this for me? He's like, yeah, sure. And then and get him on board.
Right.
That's how I work.
Okay.
For music even sometimes.
Yeah. So what do you mean for music?
Like if
for like album art and stuff?
yeah,
Or?
for album or say if it's like jingle or something, then I know someone who's making music. So I'm just gonna,
okay. Right,
yeah.
recommend them.
Yeah.
Okay. And I guess you're also part of the Milkshake Collective that was a few years ago. Talk me through about like being part of that. How do you think something like that actually helps the culture?
Definitely. I feel like, especially in Dhaka, when you don't have a lot to do on the weekends or not much to do other than eating out, this fresh new art exhibition, or what do you want to call art fair, is somewhere you want to take your, I don't know, little cousin or kids, it could be a date, I don't know. I think it's we've created something where you want to go, like an event, a new thing. We've had music events, but for art, I think Milkshake Collective was really new. But we've had those traditional exhibitions in Shilpokala for years. But I think Milkshake Collective is targeting a different kind of crowd, like our generation. I feel like we feel closer to the artist and the art. Through Milkshake, I think we've kind of reached that.
And what kind of crowd usually, used to come and buy the stuff? Would it, like, in terms of buying specifically? Because art has a lot of, I guess, different forms of consumers. And
it attracts different kind of people.
Correct. You could intend it for a certain target demographic, but you could then have hotel manager coming in and say, hey, we want this in our lobby. With Milkshake Collective and with your art, what kind of consumers and target market do you usually cater for, and what type do you usually get?
I might be wrong on this, but for me personally, I felt like it was a lot of young people, I don't know, like new parents. People who just like, comics and like cool stuff, like funky things, people who like collecting stuff, people like that. Not somebody who would need this artwork to be in their hotel lobby, or maybe they don't need it, but they think it's cool, so they're going to put it up in their cafe. Like, I think we've kind of started the habit of people buying art. Like certain people who would, I don't know, like movie fans, they didn't think that posters were a thing, or you can actually buy art posters. So now you can. You can get art prints.
So I think it's also changing the way the consumer thinks as well.
I think so.
You mentioned about your freelance life where you have to like run around from one place to the other. You have to do meetings. You have to run through traffic. You have to fight the allergies. You have to fight the dust. And then you go home and then you have to do the work, pretty much. And you mentioned that that's messed up your sleep cycle. As a creative, do you have a certain period that you work best, or a certain environment that you work best in?
Yeah, I think I'm more comfortable working at night. Also because that's when no one's bothering me. No one's like knocking on the door, or no one wants to talk to me. No one wants to chill with me. That's why I think I work best in silence. I think that's also why I choose to work at night, because I often get told, like, you know what, you can just sleep and then start really early in the morning. I don't think that's going to happen with me.
Have you tried?
Of course I've tried. I mean, I just go back to sleep. I mean, mornings are not for work.
It's interesting as well, because I just don't function as well in the morning. I've tried. It's always at night when I get the best ideas.
I can barely speak to people. Like, my brain just doesn't want to work.
But other than that, though, the amount of work that you have to go through, and with this lifestyle and stuff, I have this one overarching topic for pretty much every guest that I have, and I've seen that multiple times you publicly share on your stories that you have faced burnout, or you've come close to facing burnout, and you've always had to take a step back, or pull the plug. Tell me the process, usually what leads to your burnout, and then what do you do to kind of get out of it?
So usually what happens is I keep getting, it's unusual, I should be happy about, I keep getting calls for work. But at one point, when you're not available but you're busy, but people are still like seeking for you, want something from you, want something done, they're looking for you. I think at that point, I just don't want to. I think it's also because I don't know how to manage my work well, but I just feel like quitting it all. I'm like, okay, give me a break. But that individual doesn't know what I'm going through, so it's not their fault. It's mostly me. But yes, I do get a lot of those phases where I'm just like, don't call me, please, leave me alone. Because that's how I do it. And then I sleep in for 2 days.
So when you do you think it's an issue of just saying yes to everything?
Yeah, it's because I can't say no. I know when I get a call, I'm probably gonna, and I won't say I'm a workaholic, but I don't really know how to take breaks.
Right.
Like I'm constantly, it's probably because I want to get most done.
Yeah.
So even when I can put something for the next day, I would probably want to finish it ASAP.
Do you feel guilty when you don't do work? Ever?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also because I feel like, this is how I make my money. And if I skip on work,
Then
I'm going to be broke.
Right.
And because the money doesn't really flow in like a regular job, it's probably going to come like 2 months later or like weeks later. So I can't really count on it. So I have to keep doing work. So I make sure I earn that keep. So it's a drag for me.
Has that ever caused anxiety?
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't. Also because I feel like if I pause now, I won't be able to start over again.
Right.
So I never take breaks. I don't stop. I'm always working.
Yeah. What do you think is so when I think of your worst burnout that you've ever had, what did you do to kind of get out of it?
I think I just switched my phone off and like slept in. That's like the worst thing I did, but that was for like 2 days.
Okay, and then go back to work.
Back to work, yeah. I can't afford holidays like that.
Right. It's interesting because with burnouts, it's becoming a more and more prevalent thing, especially in the creative side of things. If you look at YouTubers, if you look at any creatives, they would always speak about how speaking or how doing stuff on the daily has led to this, I guess, boiling point.
Yeah.
And I find that it could have a lot to do with the way we have been digitizing stuff as well. Do you think that constantly being online has had an effect on you? Or
True, I do feel that way, but
like not necessarily for social media stuff, but actually doing your work
being
online.
active. Yeah. Sometimes I do feel like an office job would be preferred because you're logging out at a certain time and then you have the rest of your day. But for me, it's my work and the whole responsibility is my own.
Yeah.
So I can't really be slacking off. So I'm always on it. I think that's what you mean by being online.
Correct.
Yes, I'm always available. I take feedbacks after 12 p.m., 12 a.m.
12 a.m.
I'm like, oh, dude, I shouldn't be doing this, but,
Yeah.
I don't know how to not be available. So it's actually a huge problem.
Right.
And also, I don't want to disappoint people or make people feel like, oh, she's just trying to act busy. I'm not. It's just...
So what do you think is the best course of action for you and for others who are facing this similar situation of burning out and just doing too much work?
I think I want to add this because it also affects your personal lives and how you kind of deal with your relationships, because it does take a lot from you. I feel like maybe have your priorities straight. Like I know when I want to give my family time or when I want to hang out with my friends and my husband, but it's I think if there's a routine that you follow, it can be regulated. Like you can choose not to work on Fridays. No matter what happens, don't take any calls, don't pick up calls. I think it's more to do with yourself than other people.
Have you built a routine that you work on?
I'm trying on it. I'm actually, I do avoid every call on Friday and I don't work on Fridays.
Right, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And do you have any not morning routines, but any routines on the daily that you kind of do? Like, okay, these are the times I work, these are the times I travel.
No, I don't have anything like that.
Yeah. Do you think that leads to the issue of overworking?
Yeah, and also because I don't know when I can actually, I can't say yes to plans because I don't really know if I'll be free for that.
Right.
That kind of makes me really sad because I miss out on a lot.
Right.
And even if I'm free, I don't really feel like going out or doing much because I'd be so tired. I just want to stay home.
So it's I think it doesn't sound too
exciting.
No,
it's not, but then there are rewards.
Correct.
When your work gets out, you're like, oh, whoa,
exactly. That's
worth it.
Pressing that publish or pressing, that upload button, finishing the work. It's one of the best feelings, and then actually getting people to see your work and then connect with it.
You get those calls when people are like, hey, that was awesome. We saw it and we loved it.
Yeah.
Great job. I think it makes up for the effort, but I do feel sick most of the time. So
Talk to me about quality of work. So this is an interesting thing I've asked pretty much all the creatives. What is quality to you?
That actually really depends on what work you're
Right.
doing. Like,
So say in your line of work, say illustration or design.
I think it's mostly about like keeping your style up and doing your best, but also maintaining what, like if it's like a commercial work or like if someone's, I don't know, maybe like you're making something for someone.
Yeah.
If you're staying true to what they need, like, okay, sure, you do your own thing,
Right.
put your creativity in, but also make sure that the person you're giving it to has got what they also wanted.
The people who are paying it
Or maybe even it's just a commissioned work. Right? You can't be like, okay, so this is my style, this is
Exactly,
me, you have to take it or go.
Yeah.
I don't think that's quality. I think that's
Right.
uncool. I
Right.
mean, I don't know. I've seen people do that and it doesn't really, like, it's not my style.
Right. Fair
Because
enough.
if I get paid to do something, or if a client wants my help or asks me for solutions, I'm going to give them solutions that really helps or benefits them.
Right.
Not what best fitted for me. I think that's what I think about quality.
Okay.
Best fitting work.
Well, it's interesting you say that the best fitting, because it's it actually depends from person to person, industry to industry. So I think that's what comes into play. But talk to me about being a woman in this industry, right? Obviously, growing up, it wasn't such an important issue to be speaking about. But these days, you hear a lot of the cases, and people are being vocal about, the discrimination, the obstacles that they have faced. In your line of work, both as a freelancer and as a creative, how much of that has, impacted for you to be able to express freely, and any obstacles that you might have faced, and how did you overcome those?
I won't lie to you, but I think luckily I haven't really faced those gender biases.
Fantastic.
Like
That's brilliant.
I think for me it was always about making sure that I am up, like I'm doing my best and I'm learning the skills that I should have,
Right.
rather than like competing with a guy or a girl. I've always felt like I need to compete with, like, no matter what gender they are, like I have to be the best of them all. I
Right.
think that's how I looked at it.
Right.
So even, I was working in an office and I was working as an art director, and I've had people working under me who were younger, older, and also mostly all men.
Right.
And I felt like that they were having problems taking instructions from me, but then I've had to make it in such a way that you don't have to listen to me because I'm a girl or your boss, because I know what I'm talking about and this is the right way to do it. I think I've had to earn that confidence. I've had to learn how to do what I'm doing to be able to instruct another person, for them to actually listen to me and respect what I'm saying. But yeah, it can be, and also because I look like a 15-year-old, I have issues with people taking me seriously.
Okay, so
but it's mostly, I think
it's been okay for you
it's
personally.
been all right. Yeah.
That's actually good to hear, because it could also mean, obviously, it doesn't represent the entirety of.
It does not at all. I mean, I did mention I've been quite lucky in this sense.
Correct.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it also could indicate that the wider population is trying to understand.
Yes, they're trying to do better, I think.
Correct. So I think there's some positive notes in your answer. But also about the age thing, it's quite interesting, because was one of my guests. He is a 21-year-old but he's the vice president of Batao, and
he's pretty cool.
It's a 21-year-old. And my question was, in terms of age, if people consider you to be younger than them, or just young in general, sometimes they don't value your opinion on work. How do you go about that in your sort of work?
Like I said, like you need to have that confidence that you do know what you're talking about, so you can make other people listen.
Yeah.
Like, don't do it because I'm telling you to do it, because it's right.
Right.
Yeah, so but for that you'd have to be really good at your job or whatever.
Yeah, so I actually build credibility
know your grammar,
first.
know your base.
Right.
Yeah.
And basically staying in the lane that you are an expert in, and not move away from it. And Right. That's cool. Obviously, with art, with putting anything out there, you'd get criticisms, you'd get even backlash at times, especially in this modern day social media world.
Right.
How do you deal with them? So personal criticisms, if it's constructive, it's fine. I guess,
I usually don't really take them so personally because, you know, art isn't really like my art doesn't have to like approach like everybody. Maybe like a certain person likes it, another person doesn't. But I mean, it's okay. It's something I created with like, this is like my way of expressing it. And if it doesn't float your boat, that's cool. But, you know, oftentimes people ask me why I only draw like specific types of things or people.
Yeah.
Like, that's just, you know, what I see in my brain. I mean, I can't help it. I can't draw a tree because... But there's this other person who draws trees. Maybe you want to check them out.
That's fantastic. I think that's a very good positive outlook, is not taking these like comments or criticisms.
That's cool.
Yeah, because there will be people who will not resonate with your work, who are extremely vocal, and they'll make you seem, want you to seem that you're worthless, but at the end of the day, you know who you are.
It's probably because I understand my genre. I don't know, like what kind of art I'm going to do. I think that's probably because I know that I'm not going to make a tree to cater to your needs. Like, I can't do that even if I want to.
So we are not going to see a tree featured in the
background? Probably not.
or maybe all of the stuff that you have drawn that you haven't shown the world are all trees.
Trust me, they're not trees.
Biggest failure in learning, if any?
There's been plenty. Like, I've been rejected so many times, be it like relationships or anything, like rejected by colleges, like art colleges. I'm like, I applied to a few places and I got dumped. But I feel like it makes me realize like there's a long way to go, Maleena. You have so much more to learn. You're really not that great. I mean, there's nothing to be like, you don't have to be arrogant about anything because, you know, see, you got dumped by another university. So I think it's
just
like,
keeps your feet on the ground.
Yeah, I think that's really important because then you can't grow. If you think you're the boss, you can't really grow much.
Right. Talk to me about creative block, right? So obviously it is a mental exhausting thing that we have to go through on a daily. There are times when you don't want to do this shit.
Yeah.
How do you get out of that creative block?
Like, remember how we were talking about burning out?
Yep.
So that's when I've worked way too much and my brain is like melting. It doesn't want to take any more pressure. That's when I get those blocks. Like, no matter what I do, like drink like 50 glasses of water, it's not going to happen tonight. So I usually just like take a little me time. I watch something I wanted to watch for a while. I don't know, like just listen to music and recharge myself.
Right.
I think that's how I go about it. Right. Anything other than work or artworks.
Right.
I mean,
And usually does it come back to you almost immediately, or do you have to do this on a...
I usually just follow like a pattern. You usually know when it's going to happen. Like, okay, so I've had my time, now I'm going to start again.
Right.
Usually comes back.
Who do you think are currently killing it in the industry, both locally and globally?
It's like everybody. Like, I'm not... I think locally, I'm a huge fan of Chevy. You know?
Vinci, yes. She's architecture.
She's so awesome.
Yeah.
And Inksmith, Saif.
Yep.
Yeah, these are my favorites.
Right.
But I can't really name names because they're all so cool. And, you know, we've worked together. And they're like, I'm huge... Like, I'm a fangirl. If I wasn't in the game myself, I'd be like, oh my God. But also, in terms of music, man, we're really rising up.
Oh, man.
Right?
Yeah, I was I was speaking to Zubair from Indalo, just this previous guest, and he was telling me, we were actually talking about how we're kind of seeing a new ABC generation, with ABC being Art Still Black, Happy Fate, and back in Bangladesh specifically, where there's a new kind of wave of musicians.
People trying new things, new genres, they're like exploring new... Exactly. I love it.
Yeah, so do you do music yourself at all? I mean, you do some covers and stuff, I've seen.
Not really, no. Right. I'm no good.
Your covers aren't bad.
I mean, I sing, but it's
but not like a musician.
Yeah, it's like just singing.
Right. There's only one space for a musician in the couple.
Yeah. True that. The superior being.
What do you think is the future of the industry in terms of digital art, illustration, and design?
Oh, I think we've just started, so
wow.
it's like a long way to go.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and there is actually this rise of artists, these communities that are just starting up.
Yeah.
Like now people need these artists for posters and stuff, or album arts that you probably wouldn't need like 7 years back. You know, now people want that cool artwork on their album art.
Everything,
But before that, it was probably not that necessary.
Right.
So I see it going a long way.
Okay. And where do you see yourself in 5 years? It's an interview question.
Yeah, now I'm like, man.
Just stuck. All right. Where do you see yourself, I guess, in the future? Or where do you want to be in the future? Essentially, that's what the question is.
I think I have a pretty solid answer. I think I see myself running a design studio or moving onto like a remote island and like, I don't know, like living in a shack, working in a bar or something.
It's two very extreme answers.
So it's either this or that. Yeah.
And maybe drawing trees in between.
Yeah, maybe trees.
Maybe trees. Finally, so for the creatives and the creators listening, what are three actionable steps that they can take? Well, like literally after this podcast, they can take their headphones off and start doing to be able to walk in your path or to be able to do what you do.
I
doesn't have
think
to be three, it could be one.
No, it is actually a few things.
Yeah, sure. Just go on.
Firstly, like, you know, like building your own skills, like knowing what you're really good at. That one thing.
The self-awareness.
Yes, no one can do better than you. Pick that up and like, you know, work on that.
Right.
And then, to be honest, what I've really learned is to be social.
Right.
I was not really a social person and I had social anxiety.
Okay.
So yeah, I had to fight that because I had to meet new people every day for work.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you go out there, make new friends, make new connections.
Right.
These are these two things.
Right.
And yeah, be organized. It really helps.
Okay.
Like plan your days, plan your works.
Right. And then any specific way you plan or organize your days?
Oh, I make a lot of lists.
Yeah. So to-do lists.
I have a lot of lists.
Google Docs.
Google Keep, yeah.
Google Keep, yeah.
There are better apps, but
I'm Google Keep's the easiest
Google
one.
Keeps, yeah.
Right. Well, Maleena, it's been fantastic to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me here.
Not a problem at all. Where can people find you online?
Mostly on Instagram.
Yep. What's your...
It's, oh my God, it's Mnxsterr, but Mnxsterr.
Why Mnxsterr?
That's a long story. Do you really want to hear it?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so I wanted
outro.
I used to use Tumblr and I wanted to write like regular Mnxsterr with O and RR. I don't know why, because you know it was cool back then, like using stupid names.
Yeah.
But that wasn't available, and my handle, I had to change the O and add an extra R.
Right.
That kind of stuck to me.
Okay.
I was like, hey, it's my thing.
It's a tag. Fantastic. Well, Mnxsterr, it's been fantastic having you on the show.
Thank you very much.